The wealthy think about money differently. It is rarely strategy or luck, it is temperament. Most people chase money like prey. The wealthy treat it like a tool, steady and almost boring. That single shift in thinking shapes decades of decisions. It quietly produces two very different lives. By the end of this, you will see how their calm mindset actually works inside daily life. You may also notice where your own thinking pulls you in another direction without permission. Consider someone who suddenly receives unexpected money. Most feel an electric urge to spend before it disappears. The wealthy feel something different, a quiet pause, almost a respectful silence around the new arrival. They do not rush. Rushing is how short-term thinking sneaks into long-term lives without anyone noticing. That pause is not painful discipline, it is a learned trust that money behaves better when uncrowded. This is the first hidden layer of wealthy temperament, the calm, deliberate relationship with urgency itself. Urgency feels productive, but in money decisions, urgency usually costs far more than people ever realize. The wealthy notice urgency quickly. They treat tightness in the chest as a warning, not a signal. When others speed up, they slow down. That single reversal compounds quietly across an entire lifetime. Another quiet difference is how the wealthy think about time itself when money sits inside the conversation. Most think in weeks and paychecks. The wealthy think in years, sometimes decades, occasionally in generations. This is not because they were born patient. They learned, often painfully, that time is the real engine. When you think in decades, loud decisions suddenly look small. Most urgent choices become quietly silly. Picture a tree you planted 10 years ago. You did not dig it up to check the roots. You trusted the slow, invisible work beneath the soil. Life simply continued above while patience did its job. That image lives inside the wealthy mind. It quietly shapes how they save, invest, and wait. They are not bored by slowness. They are quietly fascinated by what slowness eventually produces over time. Most people find slowness unbearable. They reach for something flashier almost immediately, often without realizing why. There's no shame in that pattern. It is simply the default thinking most of us inherited. Short-term thinking is not a personal flaw. It is the water we were raised quietly swimming inside. The wealthy temperament begins the moment someone notices that water, then chooses a slower, different current. Another quiet trait is how the wealthy think about losses and setbacks. They treat them as weather, not identity. Most experience a financial setback as personal failure. It quietly rewrites who they believe they are. The wealthy experience the same setback as information, almost like a season passing through their year. They do not enjoy losing, but they refuse to let one loss redefine their entire long-term identity. That distance is not coldness. It is protection, built through experience and many quiet, survived storms. They have lived long enough to see that panic rarely repairs anything truly important in the end. When markets shake or headlines scream, their first instinct is stillness, not movement, not noise, not reaction. They might step outside and make tea, then let the noise burn itself out around them naturally. This is one of the most underrated wealthy habits, the willingness to do nothing on purpose. Doing nothing feels lazy in a hustle culture, but in money, stillness is often the strongest action available. The wealthy understand that not every problem deserves a reaction, especially the loud, emotional, headline-driven ones. They separate noise from signal carefully. Most people react to everything equally, exhausting their attention completely. The wealthy ration reactions like a scarce resource. They save energy for moments that genuinely deserve it. Pause here for a moment. Notice something honest about your own quiet relationship with money decisions. When unexpected news arrives, do you tend to speed up or slow down? There is no wrong answer. Do decisions feel like fires to extinguish or seeds to plant carefully into good, patient soil? Only useful awareness matters here. The temperament you currently carry inside is information, not judgment. If something stirred while you reflected, share it in the comments below for other quiet viewers. Your honest sentence might be the exact mirror another person needed to see clearly today. Now back to the deeper layers. How the wealthy actually think about everyday money in ordinary moments. Another difference is how they interpret the word enough, a word most people quietly avoid completely. For most, enough sounds like settling, like giving up on something bigger, brighter, and more impressive. For the wealthy, enough is a destination, a defined number tied to the actual life they want. Without that number, money becomes a treadmill. Every milestone immediately moves further away the moment you arrive. With that number, money becomes a tool. It serves a clear, chosen, personal vision of life ahead. This is why some quietly wealthy people seem uninterested in the next bigger thing being offered. They already know what enough looks like. They refuse to renegotiate that definition every single month. Most people let advertisements and neighbors silently update their definition of enough without noticing it. That hidden renegotiation is exhausting. It explains why higher incomes so often fail to feel truly richer. The wealthy mindset protects enough carefully, like a small fire guarded inside a quietly windy room. Another underrated trait is how the wealthy think about boring, repeatable habits. They genuinely love boring. Boring survives emotions, seasons, news cycles, and personal moods. Brilliance rarely survives a single difficult quarter. A boring habit done for 20 years outperforms a brilliant idea executed for only 2 short months. Most chase brilliance because brilliance feels exciting. It offers a story worth telling at dinner tables. The wealthy choose boring instead. Boring keeps working when nobody is watching, including themselves on tired days. They automate what they can. They simplify what they cannot, removing themselves from daily emotional financial decisions. This is not because they are robots. They respect how unreliable human moods truly are over time. They know future them, tired or stressed, will be grateful past them removed the friction earlier. Most overestimate their future willpower, then feel ashamed when reality quietly disagrees with their earlier confident plans. The wealthy do not rely on willpower. They rely on design, structure, and quiet repeated systems instead. Design beats willpower every time, especially across years where life brings unexpected emotional storms without warning. Another quiet difference is how the wealthy think about people who have more than they currently do. Most compare upward and feel a sharp private ache. That ache slowly poisons their daily mood. The wealthy notice the same gap, but they interpret it differently, often as evidence something is possible. They study, ask questions, and observe patterns. They refuse to let envy harden into bitter, lasting resentment. Envy, untreated, narrows the mind. It shrinks the future you can actually imagine for yourself daily. Curiosity, in its place, widens the mind. It quietly invites new possibilities into your ordinary thinking. This shift from envy to curiosity is underrated. It costs nothing and requires no money to begin. Yet it slowly reshapes how you walk through the world. You start seeing crafts instead of clubs. Wealthy behavior becomes something to learn, not a velvet rope guarded by luck and quietly excluding you. That single reframe changes how you read articles, conversations, books, and even quiet, ordinary daily life. Another layer worth noticing is how the wealthy think about identity, especially around the loaded word rich. Most see rich as a destination far away, behind a velvet rope guarded by inheritance and luck. The wealthy see rich as a slow becoming, shaped daily by small, invisible choices nobody applauds. They do not wait to feel wealthy first. They behave the part early, sometimes awkwardly, and continue. Then the identity slowly catches up over years. This is why temperament must be practiced long before justification. If you wait for money before changing your thinking, the money rarely arrives in any meaningful way. If you change your thinking first, money has a much better chance of finding you naturally. That sequence, mindset before result, is one of the quietest secrets the wealthy genuinely live by. Another important difference is how the wealthy think about giving and sharing. They practice generosity early. Most imagine generosity as something to begin once they finally feel safe and abundant in life. The wealthy often discover the opposite. Practicing small generosity early actually builds the inner feeling itself. When you give carefully, even in small ways, you train your nervous system to believe in plenty. When you cling tightly to everything, you train your nervous system to believe in scarcity forever. This is not magical thinking. It is a quiet feedback loop between behavior and your deepest inner belief. The wealthy temperament includes openness. Openness keeps the mind flexible and free of fear-based tight decisions. A tight mind makes tight decisions. Tight decisions rarely produce expansive, durable, generous lives over decades. Another quiet difference is how the wealthy think about risk and uncertainty in the unknown future ahead. Most try to avoid risk completely. This secretly traps them in the riskiest position of all instead. The wealthy accept that some risk is unavoidable. They choose which risks they will live with carefully. They distinguish reckless risk from considered risk. One chases a story, the other accepts a quiet process. Reckless risk feels exciting. Considered risk often feels uncomfortable, slow, and trusts time to do real work. This calm relationship with uncertainty is rarely taught. Most people never see it modeled inside their families, but it can be learned slowly by practicing small, uncomfortable decisions and watching yourself survive them anyway. Each small survived discomfort expands what you believe you can handle. Larger decisions slowly become possible. This is how temperament is built, not in dramatic moments, but in many small, unremarkable, ordinary ones. If you have stayed this far, take a slow breath. Notice quietly what already feels different inside. You are not learning tactics, you are learning a way of thinking that quietly produces tactics naturally. That is the real shift, from chasing answers to building the mind that recognizes them on sight. So how do you begin building this temperament inside an ordinary, busy, emotionally noisy modern daily life? You start small. One decision a day made slightly slower than your usual reflex would normally prefer. You notice urgency. Name it quietly and ask whether this decision truly deserves the speed it requests. You think one layer longer than usual, asking how this choice looks 5 full years from today. You practice doing nothing during loud financial news, treating stillness as a skill, not a weakness. You define your own version of enough in writing. Let it protect you from drifting endlessly upward. You choose one boring habit, commit long enough to feel slightly bored by it, then keep going anyway. You watch envy when it appears, then gently translate it into curiosity about what might be possible. These are not grand gestures. They are quiet rehearsals of the temperament you are slowly becoming inside. Over months, these rehearsals stop feeling like effort. They start feeling like simply who you naturally are. That is the moment the wealthy mindset stops being theory. It becomes your actual default thinking pattern. Remember, temperament is built, never inherited. It is not reserved for people born into easier circumstances. It is available to anyone willing to slow down, to think longer and practice calm under real pressure. You do not need permission or perfect income. You do not need a clean past to begin today. You only need willingness to notice your current patterns honestly, without shaming yourself for ever having them. If this resonated, take a quiet moment. Share one mindset shift you are ready to practice below. Your comment may help another viewer recognize something they have been feeling but could not name. If you would like more reflections like this, subscribe and turn on the bell for future ones. Calm wealth begins inside the mind, long before it ever shows up inside the bank account.